Welcome back, everyone. So some good news for local musicians. The Minister of Arts and Culture recently announced a new structure whereby royalties will now be paid directly to artists. The first to be paid out are for songs played on various public broadcaster radio stations. Here's Gabby LaRue from the Trade Union for Musicians of South Africa to share his thoughts. Gabby, thank you so much for joining us on the Spotlight.
Thanks for having me, appreciate it.
A huge question here. Why are so many of our incredible talent not reaping the rewards that they rightfully deserve?
Well, look, Tanya, it's all about royalties. Royalties come from many sources. You've got, performance royalties, mechanical royalties, and of course, needle time royalties, which is the performer's royalties. And that's derived from airplay. That's derived from when songs are played on the radio or television or, played in public and venues and that. And the fact is that globally, the music industry is dominated by 3 multinational major labels. They have a very strong influence in playlisting, etc. So that local independent artists and labels get very small access to the available airtime there is. So a lot of our very amazing local artists, unless they are in some way associated with those labels, are left behind and they simply don't get access to the source of royalties.
Yeah, that is a very sad reality. And the problem is that one of 2 things can happen. They can either not produce what they rightfully can, or they leave our shores.
Well, both of that happens, but the majority of them, because they're not earning any money, can't afford to leave our shores. So they make a living here somehow. Most of them end up playing covers, maybe American covers or international covers, because that's also what our consumer public have been conditioned over many decades to appreciate and listen to. The average South African, anything that comes from abroad or America or wherever is necessarily regarded as good, where it may not be so. Even third-rate or fourth-rate American TV and radio content sometimes gets very good reception here, where world-class performances and creative works by our own artists get overlooked.
I have to say, look, my hairs are even standing up because I'm so passionate about this. I feel like
we need that passion because that's exactly what we need.
And I think we also need to encourage South Africans to support South Africans more.
Well, that's only going to happen through exposure. And a big problem is that there's not enough knowledge. Even radio stations and playlist committees and that, they don't understand the economic realities of that. They are in that same mindset that, hey, let's just play all the international stuff because the public like it. And they do. But over a period of time, we've got to recondition our South Africans back into appreciating the value of our collective South African culture.
The minister just announced this incredible new structure or this new platform. Surely this is some light at the end of the tunnel for our musicians, finally.
South African musicians, Tanya, any due payments of whatever royalties, whether they be needle time, performers, royalties, or whatever, that is forthcoming to performers and musicians and composers, is always good news. The tricky part of that is how is it distributed? With what type of integrity are those payments handled? And also with what understanding and knowledge of the industry, of the realities of the industry, is that handled? So yes, I welcome any payout of needle time, but I want to caution that it should be done in a responsible and a regulated way so that the musicians themselves benefit in the end.
I somehow feel that this is a step in the right direction.
One nice thing is, it's the national broadcaster. They haven't paid needle time to date. They've been through a very tough financial dispensation, through many complications there. But the fact that they are able to make a payment, definitely those are good signs for us as musicians. How that is going to manifest between the collection societies for needle time, which is SAMPRA on the one side, and then IMPRA, the independents, on the other side. There's a big dispute going on now, which is apparently going to court. We will see how that plays out. But I sincerely hope that the end result of that will be a positive outcome for the musicians and the performers themselves. If the stakeholders start talking to each other, looking at the regulation, and also start enforcing the regulation, holding people accountable, that is really important. And you can only do that when you have a proper regulatory structure, and that all the shareholders and the stakeholders are playing the game
Yeah.
according to the rules.
Let's go back to the Brenna Fassis and the Zayn Adam and even the Mendozas.
Yeah.
These artists, extremely talented, well-known artists, passed on penniless, really.
Yeah.
You still hear from time to time their music playing on the radio stations. Will they also benefit from this?
Well, I can speak,
After passing?
yeah, specifically in the case of Mendoza, because obviously I co-composed and produced most of his big songs. His wife Mpo and their estate, obviously they are now the beneficiaries of that. So, in a sense, as his lifelong partner, I feel a little bit responsible for them. But not just so specifically. As an elder in the industry, I feel kind of responsible to look after the new generations, that they don't go through the same problems that we have.
Be a step in the right direction. Nice one. Up next, as always, we head to the movies, so don't go anywhere. See you after the break.